Sir, I don't think you belong in this section. Sarah Martinez's voice cut through the first-class cabin as she gripped the coffee pot, her eyes scanning Marcus Thompson's modest appearance with open contempt. Marcus, 72, looked up from his financial documents. His navy cardigan was simple, his demeanor calm. My boarding pass shows seat 1A. Sarah's laugh was sharp. Does it really? Because passengers like you don't usually. She deliberately tilted the pot. Hot coffee poured in a steady stream across Marcus's lap, soaking his pressed khakis and drowning his scattered papers. Oops, she said, not bothering to hide her smirk. Marcus didn't move, didn't shout. He simply watched coffee drip from his clothes while other passengers stared in shock. Phones emerged instantly. The businessman in 2B went live on Instagram. A woman gasped behind her hand. Sarah set the empty pot down. Maybe Coach would be more your speed. Have you ever watched someone's deliberate cruelty completely backfire? The coffee stain spread across Marcus's khakis like spilled ink on dignity. He reached for the thin airline napkins, dabbing at the dark mess while Sarah watched with undisguised satisfaction. Look at that disaster, Sarah announced, her voice carrying deliberately across the first-class cabin. This is exactly why we have standards in premium seating. She gestured dramatically at Marcus's soaked clothing. How can we maintain service excellence when passengers can't even keep themselves presentable? Marcus continued cleaning methodically, his movements calm and measured. Coffee dripped from his lap onto the plush carpet below. His scattered financial reports lay ruined on the floor, quarterly earnings analyses, merger documents, confidential industry data. The pristine white pages now bore brown coffee stains like badges of humiliation. Sir, you're creating quite a mess, Sarah continued, loud enough to ensure maximum audience participation. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable in a section where accidents are more easily managed. The woman in seat 2B, Jessica Carter, had started recording the moment coffee hit Marcus's lap. Her iPhone captured everything: Sarah's triumphant smirk, Marcus's dignified response, the spreading stain across expensive cabin furnishings. Her Instagram live stream showed 847 viewers and climbing fast. Comments flooded her screen in real time. OMG, did she just pour coffee on him? This is so messed up. Someone call the police. Sue this airline. Why isn't anyone helping him? But darker comments appeared too. He probably snuck into first class. Airlines have rules for a reason. Look at his clothes. He doesn't belong. There. Senior flight attendant David Kim materialized beside Sarah, summoned by her subtle hand gesture. His uniform bore 15 years of service pins, his expression professional but cold. He immediately noticed Marcus's coffee-soaked condition. What seems to be the problem here? David asked, his tone suggesting the problem was obvious. Sarah's voice dripped with false concern. This gentleman experienced a beverage incident during service. I'm concerned he may not be adequately prepared for first-class amenities. She paused dramatically. Given his current state, I worry about maintaining service standards for our other premium passengers. The intercom crackled to life. Captain Rodriguez's voice filled the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a brief delay due to a passenger seating issue. Please remain in your seats. Estimated resolution time, 10 minutes. 10 minutes. The countdown had begun. Marcus set down his coffee-stained napkin and spoke quietly. The spill was deliberate. Sarah gasped, her hand flying to her chest in theatrical shock. Sir! How dare you accuse me of... It was clearly an accident when you suddenly moved. I didn't move, Marcus replied evenly. Well, regardless of how it happened, David interjected, we need to address your situation. First-class service requires certain presentations. He examined Marcus's boarding pass with exaggerated scrutiny, holding it to the light as if checking for counterfeiting. The ticket was legitimate. First class, seat 1A, full fare paid. But David's eyes kept returning to Marcus's modest cardigan, his practical shoes, his coffee-stained khakis. "Sir, do you have additional identification? Corporate credit card? Verification of your ability to afford this seating class?" The question hung in the air like an accusation. Around the cabin, passengers shifted uncomfortably. Some filmed discreetly with their phones. Others studied their magazines intently, desperate to avoid involvement. Marcus reached into his jacket's inner pocket, the one spot that had escaped Sarah's coffee assault. He withdrew a black American Express Centurion card, the metal surface catching the cabin's LED lighting. The embossed name read Marcus Thompson, member since 1987. David examined the card with visible skepticism. "Credit cards can be, well, obtained through various means. We need to verify this actually belongs to you." Sarah leaned closer, studying the platinum card dismissively. "Even if it's legitimate, look at his current condition. The coffee incident proves he's not comfortable in this environment. Shouldn't we move him somewhere more suitable?" Jessica's Instagram live stream hit 3,247 viewers. The comment section exploded. "This is straight-up discrimination. Record everything. Where's the manager? Flight attendant needs to be fired. This man is being abused." But the opposing voices grew louder too. "He looks homeless. First class has standards. He's probably using a stolen card. Why is he making this difficult?" Marcus's iPhone buzzed insistently. The caller ID showed board meeting 9 a.m. He declined the call without explanation, his attention fixed on the escalating confrontation. A gate agent appeared in the cabin doorway, Rebecca Carter, supervisor credentials clearly visible on her lanyard. She carried a clipboard and wore the weary expression of someone who'd handled countless difficult passenger situations. "I understand we have a seating verification issue." Rebecca's gaze immediately locked onto Marcus's coffee-stained clothing. Sarah spoke rapidly, establishing her narrative first. "This passenger experienced a beverage incident during routine service. Given his presentation and current condition, there are questions about ticket validity." Rebecca nodded with grim understanding. She'd seen this before. Passengers who'd somehow obtained first-class seats through employee connections, frequent flyer upgrades, or worse. When confronted, they often became defensive and disruptive. "Sir," Rebecca addressed Marcus with practiced corporate patience, "I'm going to ask you to voluntarily relocate to an available economy seat while we verify your documentation. We'll ensure you're properly compensated for any inconvenience." Marcus remained motionless in his seat. "My ticket is valid." "I'm certain it is, sir. However, the beverage situation has created a disturbance. Other passengers have expressed concerns about the aroma affecting their premium experience." This was a calculated lie. No passenger had complained about any smell, but Rebecca's authoritative tone made several nearby travelers nod in agreement, suddenly aware of the coffee scent lingering in the recycled cabin air. The countdown continued. 7 minutes remaining before their 10-minute deadline. Rebecca tried a softer approach. "Sir, we have an excellent economy plus seats available. Extra legroom, complimentary beverages, priority boarding for your next flight. Wouldn't that be more comfortable given your current situation?" "I'm quite comfortable here," Marcus replied. Sarah whispered urgently in Rebecca's ear, sharing details about Marcus's suspicious behavior, his inappropriate appearance, and his aggressive response to routine questioning. Rebecca stepped backward, her hand moving toward the radio clipped to her belt. Her voice carried new authority. "Security to gate A7. We have a non-compliant passenger requiring immediate assistance." The announcement sent visible tension through the cabin. Passengers sat straighter. Conversations stopped. Phones appeared more openly. Jessica's Instagram live stream now showed 7,891 viewers, comments flying past too quickly to read. Marcus's worn leather briefcase sat beside his feet, somehow untouched by Sarah's coffee assault. Inside lay documents that would transform this entire situation: quarterly reports, board meeting minutes, ownership certificates. But to Rebecca and Sarah, the briefcase was just another prop in their narrative of a passenger who didn't belong. "Sir," Rebecca announced with finality, "you now have 60 seconds to comply voluntarily before security personnel remove you from this aircraft." The coffee stain on Marcus's khakis had begun to set, a permanent reminder of Sarah's deliberate cruelty. The smell lingered stubbornly in the filtered air. His platinum credit card lay ignored on the armrest. His boarding pass, clearly marked 1A, first class, paid in full, might as well have been counterfeit. All they could see was the stain. All they understood was that he looked different. All they knew was that coffee-soaked passengers didn't belong in first class. Airport security was already walking down the jet bridge. 59 seconds and counting. 2 airport security officers appeared at the cabin entrance, their black uniforms and tactical equipment immediately shifting the atmosphere from uncomfortable to dangerous. Officer Martinez wore 15 years of service badges. Officer Thompson carried zip-tie restraints on his belt. They surveyed the scene. An elderly black man with coffee-stained clothes sitting calmly in first class, surrounded by agitated airline personnel and filming passengers. "What's the situation?" Officer Martinez asked Rebecca. "The passenger refuses to comply with crew instructions. Potential ticket fraud, disruptive behavior during beverage service." Rebecca gestured at Marcus's stained khakis. "As you can see, there was an incident." Officer Thompson's eyes locked onto the coffee damage. In his experience, disheveled passengers usually meant trouble. "Sir, we need you to come with us quietly." The Instagram live stream exploded to 15,632 viewers. Jessica Carter held her phone steady, capturing every moment. Comments flooded past in a blur. "Call the news! This is insane! He's done nothing wrong! Where are his rights? Someone help this man!" But the counter-narrative persisted. "Just follow orders. He's obviously lying. First class isn't a homeless shelter. 7:03 a.m. 7 minutes remaining." Flight Service Manager Rebecca Carter stepped forward, clipboard in hand. Her supervisor credentials gave her authority over the entire situation. She'd built her reputation on maintaining order, resolving conflicts efficiently. "Gentlemen, this passenger claims his first-class ticket is legitimate, but his presentation raises questions." She indicated Marcus's coffee-soaked appearance. "We've offered alternative seating, but he's being uncooperative." Rebecca had handled hundreds of these situations. Passengers who'd scammed their way into premium seats always became defensive when confronted. The coffee stains only confirmed her assessment. Someone unused to first-class service, clearly out of his element. Marcus's phone buzzed again. "Board meeting, 9 a.m. flashed on the screen. He declined the call for the third time, his expression unreadable. Officer Martinez moved closer. "Sir, stand up slowly. We're going to resolve this peacefully." "I haven't broken any laws," Marcus replied quietly. "Trespassing is a law," Officer Thompson interjected. "If your ticket isn't legitimate, it is legitimate." Sarah Martinez joined the circle of authority figures surrounding Marcus's seat. She'd started this confrontation, and she intended to finish it with vindication. "Officers, I witnessed this passenger's erratic behavior during routine beverage service." He became agitated when I asked standard verification questions. The coffee spill happened during his outburst. This was a complete fabrication, and Jessica's live stream had captured the truth. But Sarah delivered the lie with practiced confidence, her 15 years of flight experience lending credibility to her words. 7:05 a.m. 5 minutes remaining. The cabin had transformed into a theater of conflict. Passengers in nearby seats leaned forward, recording with phones and tablets. The businessman in 1C live-streamed to his LinkedIn followers. A woman in 2A tweeted updates to her 50,000 followers. Flight 847 began trending locally. #CoffeeGate appeared on Instagram stories. TikTok videos started spreading with captions like, "Racist flight attendant attacks elderly man." But corporate communications at United Airlines headquarters was also monitoring. Their crisis management team identified the viral potential within minutes. "This is going to be a problem," the PR director told her staff. "Get me everything on this flight, now." Back in the cabin, more authority figures arrived. Gate Supervisor James Kim appeared with airport management credentials. Captain Rodriguez emerged from the cockpit, his pilot's uniform commanding immediate respect. Marcus sat surrounded by 8 people, 2 security officers, 3 airline personnel, a gate supervisor, the captain, and Sarah, the woman who'd started it all with deliberate cruelty. "What's the delay?" Captain Rodriguez demanded. Rebecca briefed him quickly, emphasizing Marcus's non-compliance and suspicious ticket acquisition. She mentioned the coffee incident as evidence of his inability to handle first-class service appropriately. Captain Rodriguez studied Marcus with experienced eyes. In 30 years of flying, he'd learned to read passengers quickly. This man didn't seem dangerous or erratic. But corporate policy was clear about crew safety and passenger compliance. "Sir, I'm ordering you to comply with crew instructions. Failure to obey a direct order from flight crew is a federal offense under CFR 91.11. The legal citation carried weight. Passengers around the cabin shifted nervously. This had escalated beyond airline policy into federal aviation law. Marcus met the captain's gaze steadily. "Captain, I've violated no regulations. My ticket is valid, I've caused no disturbance, and I've been assaulted by your crew member." "Assaulted?" Sarah gasped. "That's ridiculous." The coffee was clearly accidental. "The security cameras will show otherwise," Marcus said calmly. This statement sent visible tension through the group. Gate Supervisor Kim made a quick note on his clipboard. Captain Rodriguez's expression hardened. If there was video evidence of crew misconduct, this situation could explode into a corporate nightmare. 7:07 a.m. 3 minutes remaining. Officer Martinez reached for his restraints. "Sir, last warning. Stand up voluntarily or we'll remove you forcibly." The Instagram live stream hit 23,847 viewers. Comments flooded Jessica's screen. "Don't let them do this. Someone call a lawyer." This is America in 2025. Record everything. They're about to arrest him. Marcus's briefcase sat beside his feet, untouched by the chaos. Inside were documents that would instantly resolve this confrontation, if anyone cared to look. But the circle of authority figures saw only what they expected: a problematic passenger whose appearance didn't match his seating assignment. Sarah felt vindicated. Her initial assessment had been correct. This man didn't belong in first class. The coffee accident had simply revealed the truth faster than normal procedures. Rebecca prepared her incident report mentally. Another successful resolution of a fraudulent passenger situation. Her supervisors would commend her decisive action. The security officers positioned themselves on either side of Marcus's seat. Standard extraction protocol called for quick, efficient removal with minimal passenger resistance. Captain Rodriguez made the final announcement. "Sir, you have 30 seconds to comply with lawful crew instructions or face federal charges for interfering with flight crew duties." 7:08 a.m. 2 minutes remaining. Marcus looked around the circle of faces. Sarah's triumphant smirk, Rebecca's bureaucratic determination, the security officer's professional readiness, Captain Rodriguez's stern authority. 23,000 people watched live as an elderly black man faced arrest for the crime of sitting in a seat he'd legally purchased. The coffee stain on his khakis had darkened, setting permanently into the fabric. The smell lingered in the recycled cabin air. His scattered financial documents remained on the floor, ignored and dismissed. Marcus reached slowly toward his briefcase. Every authority figure tensed. Officer Martinez's hand moved toward his weapon. "Sir, keep your hands visible." "I'm retrieving identification," Marcus said quietly. He opened the leather case, the one item that had escaped Sarah's coffee assault. Inside, Beneath quarterly reports and merger documents lay a slim portfolio containing business cards. 7:09 a.m. 1 minute remaining. Marcus withdrew a single card and handed it to Rebecca Carter. She glanced at it dismissively, then looked again. Her face went pale. The clipboard slipped from her fingers, clattering onto the coffee-stained carpet. The card was pristine, embossed with gold lettering. Marcus Thompson, Chairman, and Chief Executive Officer Thompson Holdings, LLC, Principal Shareholder. United Airlines Officer Martinez leaned over to read the card. His hand moved away from his restraints. Sarah Martinez stopped smirking. Captain Rodriguez's stern expression cracked. Gate Supervisor Kim stared in growing horror. The Instagram live stream captured Rebecca's shocked face as she realized the truth. They had just threatened to arrest the man who owned 23.7% of United Airlines. 7:10 a.m. Time expired. The business card trembled in Rebecca's hands. The gold lettering seemed to glow under the cabin lights. Marcus Thompson, Chairman, and Chief Executive Officer Thompson Holdings, LLC, Principal Shareholder, United Airlines Board Member. Since 1987, the silence stretched like a taut wire about to snap. Officer Martinez leaned closer, reading over Rebecca's shoulder. His tactical posture dissolved into confusion. "Ma'am? What's wrong?" Rebecca's voice came out as a whisper. This is... She couldn't finish the sentence. Her 15 years with United Airlines flashed through her mind. Employee newsletters featuring Marcus Thompson at board meetings. Annual reports showcasing Thompson Holdings' investment. Corporate emails signed by the chairman's office. The man they'd been about to arrest in handcuffs owned nearly a quarter of the company. Sarah Martinez snatched the card, certain it was fake. Her eyes scanned the embossed text 3 times before the reality sank in. The triumphant smirk melted off her face like ice in summer heat. "No," she breathed. "This can't be real." Marcus sat perfectly still, coffee stains dark across his khakis, watching 8 authority figures realize their catastrophic mistake. His voice remained calm, almost gentle. "Ms. Martinez, do you see this coffee stain on my pants?" All eyes dropped to the dark, wet patches spreading across his pressed khakis. "Every drop represents a failure in our company's values. Every stain is evidence of how United Airlines treats its passengers when they don't look the part." Captain Rodriguez grabbed the business card from Sarah's shaking hands. His 30 years of aviation experience included countless interactions with airline executives, board members, and corporate leadership. He recognized the authentic Thompson Holdings logo immediately. "Sir, Mr. Thompson, I had no idea." "Of course you didn't," Marcus replied. "That was rather the point." Gate Supervisor. Kim frantically pulled out his company-issued tablet, searching internal directories. Marcus Thompson's photo appeared instantly. The same calm face, the same steady eyes, wearing the same modest navy cardigan he had on today. "Oh, God," Kim whispered. "Oh, my God." Officer Thompson looked between his partner and the airline personnel, sensing the shift in dynamics but not understanding it fully. "What's going on here?" Rebecca found her voice, though it shook badly. "This gentleman, he's the chairman of United Airlines Board of Directors." The security officer's hand moved instinctively away from his restraints. In his 15 years of law enforcement, he'd never come closer to arresting a Fortune 500 CEO for sitting in his own company's airplane. The Instagram live stream exploded. Jessica Carter's viewer count hit 47,329 and climbing. Comments flooded past faster than anyone could read. "Holy shit, he owns the airline." "They almost arrested their own boss." "Sarah is so fired." "This is legendary." "Best plot twist ever." "They're all going to be unemployed." The businessman in 1C stopped his LinkedIn live stream, staring in amazement. The woman in 2A paused her Twitter updates, mouth agape. Passengers throughout the cabin sat frozen, phones still recording, witnessing one of the most spectacular reversals of power they'd ever seen. Marcus reached into his briefcase, the leather case that had miraculously survived Sarah's coffee assault, and withdrew a thick folder. Inside were documents that made his authority crystal clear. Quarterly board meeting minutes with his signature, merger approval paperwork bearing his seal, financial reports showing Thomson Holdings' $3.1 billion stake in United Airlines. "Ms. Carter," Marcus addressed Rebecca directly, his tone remaining conversational, "would you like to review our company's anti-discrimination policies?" "I helped write them." Rebecca stared at the folder in Marcus's hands, her career flashing before her eyes. Every decision she'd made in the past 10 minutes had been wrong. Every assumption had been catastrophic. Sarah Martinez backed away from Marcus's seat, her face cycling through emotions, disbelief, horror, recognition of her imminent termination. The coffee pot she'd used as a weapon sat on her service cart, like evidence at a crime scene. "Mr. Thompson?" she stammered. The coffee was... It was an accident." Marcus looked directly at her, his brown eyes steady and calm. "Ms. Martinez, was it an accident when you said I didn't belong in first class? Was it an accident when you suggested I'd stolen my boarding pass? Was it an accident when you told security I was being disruptive?" Each question landed like a physical blow. Sarah had no answers because there were no acceptable answers. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward, his authority as pilot giving him the courage to speak. "Sir, if we'd known your identity, you would have treated me differently," Marcus finished. "That's precisely the problem, Captain. A passenger's right to dignified treatment shouldn't depend on their net worth or corporate position." He gestured to his coffee-stained clothes. "This stain will wash out eventually, but the memory of how your crew treated an elderly passenger won't disappear so easily." Marcus's phone buzzed again. Board meeting, 9 a.m. But this time he answered it. "Thompson here." "Yes, I'm aware of the time. Actually, I'm dealing with a customer service issue that requires immediate board attention. Flight 847 from Chicago. Yes, it's being live-streamed. We'll need an emergency session this afternoon." He ended the call and looked around the circle of stunned faces. 47,000 people are watching this conversation live. By noon, it'll be 1 million. By evening, every major news outlet will be running this story. Rebecca's tablet showed United's stock price, already beginning to fluctuate as social media algorithms detected the viral incident. The company's crisis communications team was probably in full panic mode. Officer Martinez cleared his throat awkwardly. "Mr. Thompson, sir, we apologize for the misunderstanding. We were responding to crew reports of a disruptive passenger." "Was I disruptive, officer?" I sat quietly in my assigned seat, reading financial documents. When assaulted with hot coffee, I cleaned myself with napkins. When questioned, I provided identification. When ordered to move, I politely declined because my ticket was valid. The security officer had no response. Every action Marcus had taken was perfectly legal and appropriate. Gate Supervisor Kim found his voice. "Sir, what can we do to resolve this situation?" Marcus looked at his watch, a modest Timex, not the luxury timepiece one might expect from a billionaire. The flight was supposed to depart at 7 a.m. It's now 7:12, 12 minutes late because your staff decided I looked too poor for first class. He stood slowly, coffee stains visible across his khakis. At full height, he commanded the cabin not through intimidation, but through quiet dignity that made everyone else seem smaller. "Ms. Carter, I'd like you to call your district manager immediately. Tell them Marcus Thompson requests an immediate conference call with the board of directors regarding discriminatory treatment of passengers." Rebecca's hands shook as she reached for her radio. The district manager would recognize Marcus's name instantly. This conversation would reach United's CEO within minutes. Sarah Martinez finally found her voice, desperation creeping in. "Mr. Thompson, please, I have 3 children. I can't lose this job. I can explain." Marcus turned to face her directly. The woman who had poured coffee on him, who had suggested he didn't belong, who had fabricated stories about his behavior to justify her prejudice. Ms. Martinez, you're right about one thing. You can't lose this job. Sarah's face showed a flicker of hope. Marcus continued quietly, You already have. The Instagram live stream hit 52,847 viewers. Comments exploded. She's fired. Justice. He's so calm and powerful. This is better than movies. Best comeback ever. Captain Rodriguez attempted damage control. Mr. Thompson, surely we can discuss this privately. Captain, privacy ended when your flight attendant poured coffee on me in front of 50 passengers and 50,000 online viewers. This is now a very public conversation about United Airlines' commitment to treating all passengers with dignity. Marcus reached back into his briefcase and withdrew one final document, a legal pad covered with handwritten notes. I've been documenting everything for the past 12 minutes. Times, quotes, witness statements, policy violations. My legal team will find this very interesting reading. The circle of authority figures who had surrounded him now looked like defendants awaiting sentencing. But Marcus wasn't finished. He had one more revelation that would transform this incident from an embarrassing mistake into corporate reckoning. Marcus opened his leather portfolio with the deliberate precision of a surgeon preparing for operation. Inside lay documents that would transform this incident from personal humiliation into corporate reckoning. Ms. Carter, since you've questioned my right to sit in first class, let me share some relevant financial data. He withdrew a quarterly earnings report, coffee-free and pristine. United Airlines Q3 revenue, $12.9 billion. Thomson Holdings ownership stake, 23.7%, valued at $3.1 billion. Rebecca's face had gone pale beyond recovery. Those numbers represented more money than she'd see in 100 lifetimes. Average first-class ticket price, Chicago to Atlanta, $4,847. Cost to United Airlines when Thomson Holdings divests our position, approximately $847 million in immediate stock devaluation. The Instagram live stream hit 73,294 viewers. Comments exploded. He's doing math and destroying them. This is better than any movie. Sarah is so dead. Drop the financial receipts, King. Marcus turned to Captain Rodriguez. Captain, are you familiar with Federal Aviation Regulation 91.121 regarding passenger discrimination? No, sir, not specifically. It states that airlines cannot refuse service based on race, color, national origin, or perceived economic status. Violation carries fines up to $27,500 per incident plus civil liability. He made a note on his legal pad. Ms. Martinez poured coffee on me deliberately. That constitutes assault under Illinois Criminal Code 720 ILCS 5/12-1. Penalty, up to 1 year imprisonment. $25,000 fine. Sarah Martinez looked ready to collapse. Mr. Thompson, please, I have children. I can't go to prison. Ms. Martinez, you should have considered your children before weaponizing beverage service against elderly passengers. Marcus withdrew another document, a thick legal contract. This is United Airlines Passenger Service Agreement, Section 4.2. Carrier agrees to provide courteous, respectful treatment to all passengers regardless of appearance, perceived social status, or economic background. He looked directly at Rebecca. Your staff violated our own contract. That creates corporate liability under respondeat superior doctrine. The company is responsible for employee actions performed within their scope of employment. Gate Supervisor Kim tried desperately to salvage the situation. Mr. Thompson, sir, what can we do to make this right? Marcus set down his documents and looked around the circle of authority figures who had surrounded him with handcuffs and federal threats 15 minutes earlier. Mr. Kim, you have two choices. I'm going to present them clearly because I believe in transparency. The cabin fell silent except for the soft hum of aircraft systems and the occasional gasp from passengers still recording. Option 1. Immediate corrective action. Marcus began ticking off points on his fingers. Ms. Martinez is terminated immediately, with cause, no severance package. Her certification is revoked by the FAA for passenger assault. Ms. Carter receives a 30-day suspension and mandatory retraining on anti-discrimination protocols. Rebecca's knees nearly buckled. 30 days without pay would devastate her finances. Additionally, United Airlines implements a company-wide coffee and courtesy program within 60 days. Every flight attendant, gate agent, and customer service representative completes 40 hours of bias awareness training. He paused to let the scope sink in. We establish a $50 million passenger dignity fund, providing grants to organizations fighting transportation discrimination. Every United aircraft gets equipped with body cameras for crew accountability. Sarah Martinez was crying now, mascara streaming down her cheeks. $50 million. Over coffee. Over deliberately assaulting a passenger because of racial prejudice, Marcus corrected firmly. Option 2. Corporate consequences. Marcus's tone remained calm, but his words carried devastating implications. I called an emergency board meeting to discuss United Airlines' systemic discrimination culture. Thomson Holdings begins immediate divestment of our 23.7% stake. He retrieved his phone, showing the stock ticker. United's current share price, $847. When Thomson Holdings announces divestment, analysts predict a 15 to 20% decline. That's approximately $2.1 billion in shareholder value destruction. Officer Martinez whistled softly. He'd never witnessed financial warfare conducted with such surgical precision. Additionally, I contacted my colleagues at Delta, American, and Southwest. Thomson Holdings has investment relationships with all major carriers. Word spreads quickly in our industry. Marcus opened his contacts list, showing names that made Rebecca's eyes widen. CEO Delta Airlines, President American Airlines, Chairman Southwest Airlines. The Federal Department of Transportation launches discrimination investigation. Securities and Exchange Commission reviews United's diversity compliance. Every civil rights organization in America holds us up as an example of corporate bias. The Instagram live stream reached 89,447 viewers. Number Flight 847 was trending nationally alongside number coffee discrimination and number United Airlines racism. Captain Rodriguez attempted negotiation. Sir, surely option 1 is reasonable, but 50 million seems excessive. Marcus's eyebrows rose. Captain, United Airlines spent $127 million on executive bonuses last year. We can afford $50 million to ensure passengers aren't assaulted with hot beverages. He turned back to Rebecca, who was frantically calculating the financial implications. Ms. Carter, option 2 also includes personal consequences. Your failure to protect a passenger from crew assault makes you liable for civil rights violations under 42 U.S.C. 1983. Personal damages could reach $500,000. Rebecca's hands shook as she reached for her radio. District Manager to Gate A7. Emergency. Mr. Marcus Thompson requests an immediate conference call with the Board of Directors. The name Marcus Thompson crackled over the radio like an electric shock through United's entire Chicago operation. Within 30 seconds, Rebecca's radio exploded with responses. Roger that. Gate A7. District Manager, en route. Mr. Thompson? The Marcus Thompson. All supervisory personnel to Gate A7 immediately. Corporate communications, please respond to Gate A7. Marcus checked his Timex watch. Excellent response time. I'm impressed. Sarah Martinez made one final desperate plea. Mr. Thompson, I know I made a mistake, but termination seems so harsh. Couldn't I just apologize publicly? Marcus studied her with the same calm expression he'd maintained throughout her assault. Ms. Martinez, when you poured coffee on my lap, you called it maintaining standards. When you suggested I didn't belong here, you called it following protocol. When you lied to security about my behavior, you called it passenger safety. He gestured toward his stained clothing. Now that you know I own this airline, you call it a mistake. That's not an apology. That's damage control. The district manager appeared at the cabin entrance. Patricia Williams, 25 years with United, senior executive credentials visible on her lanyard. She took one look at Marcus's coffee-stained appearance and immediately understood the catastrophic scope of the situation. Mr. Thompson, sir, I deeply apologize for this incident. How can we resolve this immediately? Marcus handed her his legal pad, filled with documented timestamps, quotes, and policy violations. Ms. Williams, your crew assaulted me with hot coffee, accused me of ticket fraud, called security to arrest me, and threatened federal charges. All because my cardigan isn't expensive enough for first class. Patricia scanned the notes, her face growing paler with each line. 15 years of corporate crisis management hadn't prepared her for this scenario. Sir, we'll take immediate action. Full investigation, appropriate discipline, whatever you require. Ms. Williams, I've already outlined the requirements. Option 1 or Option 2. The choice determines whether United Airlines learns from this incident or becomes a cautionary tale for the entire industry. Marcus stood up, coffee stains visible across his khakis, dignified despite the assault he'd endured. You have until we reach the gate in Atlanta to decide. That's approximately 90 minutes to determine United Airlines' future. He sat back down, opened his briefcase, and retrieved fresh financial reports, as if the past 20 minutes had been merely an interruption to his morning reading. The Instagram live stream topped 94,000 viewers. Every major news outlet was now monitoring the situation. United Airlines' stock price fluctuated with each new social media post. Patricia Williams stepped back, radio in hand, preparing to make the most important call of her career. The flight that should have departed at 7 a.m. finally began taxiing toward the runway at 7:31 a.m., 31 minutes late. But Marcus Thompson wasn't finished. The real reckoning would happen at 30,000 feet, where corporate accountability meets social media justice in the unforgiving arena of viral internet culture. The Boeing 737 reached cruising altitude 39 minutes behind schedule. At 35,000 feet, corporate accountability was about to meet social media justice. District Manager Patricia Williams stood in the aircraft's forward galley, her radio connecting her to United Airlines' Emergency Corporate Leadership Conference. On the line, CEO Scott Kirby, Chief Legal Officer, and 3 board members emergency contacted about the Marcus Thompson situation. Patricia, confirm the passenger's identity. CEO Kirby's voice crackled through static. Williams glanced at Marcus, still reading quarterly reports with coffee stains across his khakis. Sir, it's definitely Marcus Thompson. I've verified his identification and corporate directory photo. He's live streaming to over 102,000 viewers currently. Long pause. Whispered conversations echoed through the radio. Lawyers calculating liability, executives measuring career damage. What are his demands? 2 options, sir. Option 1 requires Martinez's termination, Carter's suspension, $50 million diversity fund, company-wide retraining, and fleet-wide body cameras. Option 2. Thompson Holdings divests their 23.7% stake. He estimates $2 billion in stock destruction plus federal investigations. 30 seconds of silence. Williams knew executives were calculating. $50 million in reforms versus $2 billion in losses. Patricia, CEO Kirby returned, resigned but decisive. United Airlines accepts option 1 completely. Immediate corporate action. Williams approached Marcus's seat with funeral solemnity. Behind her, Sarah Martinez sat defeated in the crew jump seat, mascara streaking down her face. Rebecca Carter paced the galley nervously. Mr. Thompson, United Airlines formally accepts your option 1 proposal. Marcus looked up from his reports. All components? Yes, sir. Martinez terminated upon landing. Carter received a 60-day unpaid suspension. Coffee and courtesy program launches within 90 days. Passenger Dignity Fund established at 50 million. Body cameras fleet-wide within 6 months. The Instagram live stream exploded past 108,000 viewers. Justice served. Sarah is fired. Best comeback ever. He changed everything. Sarah's termination. Sarah was summoned forward. Her 15-year career was ending publicly. Ms. Martinez, Williams announced formally, you are terminated from United Airlines for passenger assault, discrimination policy violations, and false security reports. Your FAA certification is flagged for review. Sarah's legs buckled. Please, isn't there any way? Marcus spoke quietly. Ms. Martinez, you made 3 errors. You judged appearance over documentation. You used authority to inflict harm. You showed remorse only after discovering my position. He paused. Those aren't mistakes. They're character revelations. Sarah nodded through tears, finally understanding that consequences had arrived. Rebecca's discipline. Ms. Carter, you failed your supervisory responsibility to protect passengers from crew misconduct. 60-day suspension begins immediately. Complete 160 hours anti-discrimination training before reinstatement. This becomes permanent in your personnel record. Rebecca accepted silently. 60 days without pay would devastate her finances, but she'd seen what happened to employees who challenged Marcus Thompson. Public corporate apology. Williams activated the intercom. Her voice reached every passenger plus 110,000 plus live stream viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is District Manager Williams. United Airlines sincerely apologizes to Mr. Thompson for discriminatory treatment from our crew. This represents a failure of our core values. She continued, knowing phones were recording. Effective immediately, United implements comprehensive reforms, ensuring no passenger experiences discrimination based on appearance or perceived status. We are establishing a $50 million fund supporting civil rights organizations fighting transportation discrimination. The cabin erupted in applause. Passengers cheered for justice served. Systematic changes. Implementation. United's corporate team implemented Marcus's demands in real time over aircraft Wi-Fi. The Coffee and Courtesy program launched immediately. Mandatory 40-hour bias training for 87,000 employees. New passenger advocacy app for discrimination reporting. Body cameras for all crew interactions. Monthly diversity metrics published publicly. Quarterly third-party civil rights audits, technology, and accountability. United's IT department deployed the Fair Flight Reporting System within hours. Passengers could document discrimination real-time, with reports going directly to corporate leadership and civil rights organizations. Body camera installation would cost $23 million, but provide invaluable accountability. Every passenger interaction would be recorded and reviewable. The $50 million fund. The Passenger Dignity Fund represented acknowledgement that discrimination carried measurable costs. Legal aid for transportation, discrimination victims, service industry bias research, hospitality, worker training programs, equality, monitoring technology development. Marcus had transformed personal humiliation into systematic change affecting millions. Industry ripple effects. Flight 847. News spread through aviation networks within hours. Other airlines preemptively reviewed discrimination policies. Delta announced enhanced diversity training. American pledged bias-free protocols. Southwest created passenger dignity task forces. Marcus's coffee-stained khakis triggered the most significant airline civil rights advancement in history. Landing and media response flight 847 descended toward Atlanta, with Marcus receiving passenger standing ovations. Crew members, except terminated Sarah, provided genuinely respectful service. The viral video reached 127,000 views during the flight. Flight 847 trended nationally. News crews waited at the gate. At baggage claim, reporters surrounded Marcus. He declined interviews but issued a brief statement. Today proved that dignity isn't determined by clothing or bank accounts. United Airlines chose accountability over defensiveness. That's genuine leadership. Long-term results. 6 months later, United Airlines reported 73% reduction in passenger discrimination complaints. Industry-leading diversity metrics. $847 million in recovered brand value. Thomson Holdings maintaining their 23.7% investment. Other carriers adopted similar reforms. The Department of Transportation made bias training mandatory. Airport security protocols were revised. The entire transportation industry evolved. Personal legacy. Marcus kept his coffee-stained suit as a reminder, not of humiliation endured, but of systematic change achieved through strategic response rather than emotional reaction. He demonstrated that sustainable reform comes through economic pressure over emotional outbursts, systematic solutions over individual punishment, data-driven change over public shaming, legal authority combined with moral leadership. The coffee's lasting impact. Sarah Martinez faced unemployment and industry blacklisting. Her assault had cost her everything. Rebecca Carter survived suspension and returned to work transformed, becoming United's most effective diversity trainer. Patricia Williams was promoted for crisis management, leading United's new passenger advocacy division. Intellectual victory. Marcus had chosen prevention over punishment, reform over revenge. The coffee stain would wash out eventually, but 87,000 airline employees would carry bias training forever. The live stream ended with Marcus walking through Atlanta's terminal, dignity intact, having transformed a moment of racial humiliation into an industry-wide reckoning. Sometimes the most powerful response to injustice isn't anger. It's systematic change that prevents others from suffering similar treatment. The coffee had dried. The reforms would last forever. 6 months later, Marcus Thompson stood before the NAACP annual conference, wearing the same Navy cardigan from Flight 847. In his hands was United Airlines Diversity Report. Discrimination complaints, down 73% since the coffee incident. Power isn't about having the loudest voice, Marcus told 2,000 civil rights leaders. It's about using whatever voice you have strategically. Behind him, a screen displayed the coffee and courtesy program's impact. 87,000 employees trained, $50 million distributed to advocacy organizations, 0 beverage-related discrimination incidents across all major carriers. Personal legacy values. Marcus's approach demonstrated that true strength lies in dignity under pressure, maintaining composure despite hot coffee assault and arrest threats. Quiet confidence defeated loud prejudice. Strategic response. Documentation and legal leverage proved more powerful than emotional outbursts. Systematic change. Focusing on preventing future incidents rather than individual revenge. Economic justice. Using business influence to protect others who lack similar power. Social impact results. The ripple effects transformed entire industries. Amtrak, Greyhound, and rideshare companies implemented bias training, 847. Fortune 500 companies requested Thomson Holdings Diversity Consulting. Harvard Business School added the coffee case study to curriculum. Department of Transportation made discrimination training mandatory. The Coffee Fund's legacy. Marcus's $50 million passenger dignity fund changed lives. Juana Martinez received legal aid after flight discrimination, leading to Southwest policy changes. Robert Kim developed bias training programs now used by 23 airlines worldwide. Detroit Community Coalition received $2.3 million to combat transportation discrimination. Where are they now? Sarah Martinez works at a suburban coffee shop. Her airline career permanently ended. The incident follows her through background checks. Prejudice carries lasting costs. Rebecca Carter returned from suspension, becoming United's most effective diversity trainer, personally educating 12,000-plus employees. Call to action. Marcus Thompson showed us that real power isn't about getting even. It's about making sure it never happens again. For discrimination. Victims. Document everything. Timestamps, witnesses, video evidence. Know your rights. Research anti-discrimination laws. Report incidents. Use apps like Fair Flight, share your story. Comment below with your experiences. For allies. Speak up immediately when witnessing discrimination. Use economic power. Support businesses with diversity policies. Advocate for training in your workplace. Amplify voices. Share these stories. Subscribe to Black Voices Uncut for more stories of quiet strength overcoming racism, strategic responses to discrimination, economic empowerment, creating change, real people transforming industries. Final message. Marcus kept that coffee-stained suit as a reminder. The stain washed out, but the changes it sparked will last generations. The next time someone judges you by appearance, remember that dignity isn't granted by others. It's maintained by yourself. Sometimes quiet confidence backed by principled action can change the world. The coffee question. Every time you're served coffee, ask yourself, am I seeing the person across from me? Am I treating them with the dignity every human deserves? Share this story. Comment on your experiences. Subscribe to Black Voices Uncut for Justice. The coffee was spilled. The change is permanent.
At Black Voices Uncut, we don't polish away the pain or water down the message. We tell it like it is because the truth deserves nothing less. If today's story spoke to you, click like, join the conversation in the comments, and subscribe so you'll be here for the next Uncut Voice.